Now, it is a good day to be a Dr. Stone fan because Dr. Stone Season 3 has officially returned with the second half of the New World story, and honestly, this was fun because not only did we get to see something I never quite expected to see, which was Revival done in such a beautiful but almost godlike way, because when we do Revival, we're used to just the cracking and them waking up, but as Senku even says, I mean, that's thousands of years of petrification. If it's been only maybe a couple of days, maybe even a couple of years, it's a completely different experience. The glowing and everything definitely opens up a lot of possibilities to start thinking about what this beam actually represented in terms of how they turn people to stone. But the biggest unexpected thing was what they ended up doing with not only who they went after, which the first one we end up getting is of course our boy Ryusei, because Koku, even though she didn't want to do it, ultimately ends up smashing him into perfect pieces that can be transported and we can get our captain back. But the idea of making makeshift scuba gear, which can last maybe 10 minutes if they're lucky, was a hell of a chore to even make those two. A couple of them exploded, which is no surprise. I think what they ended up doing because we need our craftsmen, right? We need someone who can properly make things and really allow us to start propelling things forward, because we can make proper scuba gear and we could get everyone now that we know where they are. The idea that he's just so buried, like they try to dig him out eventually, but just nothing that can happen. The build up to getting our boy back, saying, okay, we need muscle, we need taiju, we need someone who's going to be able to pull this man up. And the idea of how they use like the airflow to, because if you just pour the revival juice, it's not going to do anything. But the idea of like how they built into that grand final moment, what an unexpected return. We see petrification handled in a way we've never quite seen before. I'm thinking, okay, well, we got the captain back, that's all we're going to be reviving, and then they just escalate it into this big scuba mission, which just, like, was one of the best episodes of this new season of Dr. Stone, because this isn't Season 4, this is still Season 3, so if we're considering what we saw in Core 1, yeah, this was definitely one of the stronger episodes for sure. Now, full live reaction to this wonderful Dr. Stone episode available on my Patreon. If you would like to see that, it's over there if you're interested. Dr. Stone has been one of my personal favorites, honestly, since Season 1 started. Or at least I think around the second half of Season 1. Like the first half of Season 1 I enjoyed, but it's around the second half where I was like, okay, Dr. Stone is actually something special. And there's select instances where maybe you could look at and say, okay, that's definitely a little anime. But in general, Dr. Stone does rely on a lot of, like, logic. Yes, sometimes the characters jump really high, or, you know, they pour breaths, you know, of air up into our boy's mouth so he can, you know, get a nice lungful and be able to swim around. But in general, the way the things that need to make sense in terms of a grounded reality is the science portion, and that is all logic driven. Like, the author does his research and investigates things with people who know a lot more than himself, which allows for this entire situation to actually make sense. And I think that's the brilliant thing about Dr. Stone, is we are watching anime at the end of the day. It's okay if characters have a little more intense hearing than maybe they should if this was based on our own reality. At the end of the day, we have to suspend our sense of disbelief in order to enjoy products, and that's what this show does, without relying on saying, okay, now they're building nuclear bombs just because they can. No, just look, like they're talking about building guns in here, and Senku immediately shuts it down, like, no, we don't got a factory to go do this. And that's what I love about this, because what did we need to see for this episode? Honestly, I had no expectations. Things were not looking good, but they also had the ability to make as much as they needed in terms of revival fluid, but unfortunately, like, the time really isn't on their side. The enemy is tossing all of their friends into the ocean, and the one dude who looks very important, they're trying to find the traitor and saying, hey, start cutting apart pieces and we'll figure out who doesn't want to do it. Koku didn't want to do it at all, but unfortunately, you know, she was the best one suited, so she aura-ora'd her way through it and slowly but surely transported all the pieces. And it was really nice because, like I said, when we see Revival, we see the cracks just start to crumble and then they kind of snap too. This was a completely different experience. It was like an angelic holy light, and it definitely makes you questioning, like, what the hell is that beam actually? Who caused it? Is it a godlike entity, or is it something that's just a freak Mother Nature accident? We don't know, but seeing it in that way definitely re-sparks that whole, like, we need to figure this shit out, because that is fascinating. I mean, big green aura to turn them to stone, and then this almost angelic orange kind of beautiful sunset vibe to kind of let them all be free, especially when you see like how they detail the bones and everything, like the muscles reactivating. Wild stuff. I think my favorite part though was actually at the very end when basically they had the plan, okay, I'm gonna give up my air, I'm gonna basically propel my air up so I can pour the revival fluid. Oh shit, he's missing part of his arm. I thought we were just gonna have him armless, like, because it's not like he would die probably, unless like if they revived him and it was just gushing blood, then yeah, he probably would be screwed. But if he got revived and he just didn't have part of his arm, that could be an interesting character direction to take one of the stronger characters. But instead, I mean, he was right there. He grabbed that arm and said, okay, let's do this. And I love how the immediate reaction is just like the chest banging and basically being like, I'm back, bitches. It was so perfect, and he immediately understood what needed to be done, and honestly, it was brilliant, because now that we have our Craftsman, we can put him back together. He will be upset, of course, because the mobile lab is kind of stripped down, but the biggest thing that I really appreciate about Senku is he's the smartest character in the show, and easily the smartest character alive in the world right now. The thing is even if he knows how to do something in theory, he's not elegant. He's not someone who's spent 50 years or more, you know, honing his craft in terms of very precise movements. So he can make a makeshift scuba tank, but it's not perfect, it's not beautiful, and some of them ended up blowing up. But if you tell this old wise man about what the plan is, he'll be able to do it, and we'll be able to make something a lot better. We'll be able to make something that allows for them to pump the air into it, rather than like a bicycle pump situation where they barely were able to manage to do it at the end. This is what's really cool, is they don't let Senku be this one-trick pony who can do everything himself. No, he pretty much knows everything he needs to do, or in general, he knows how to point characters in the direction that then they will give him the answer, but he needs the help of multiple people. He needs the strength of someone like Taiju. He needs the craftsmanship of someone like our boy. Like, it just, all of this builds into such a great ensemble cast, and that's why I think many of us come back to Dr. Stone. The intelligent way they take things that, how are they going to build this with no technology around, or the things that they would need to build it, and then you do the research yourself and you're like, actually they could probably do it like that. It actually does make sense. Dr. Stone has been one of my personal favorite anime for years. Every time new episodes drop, I'm giddy, I'm excited. It always kills me a little because it's not the most popular show to discuss online. Season 1 was a little more talked about, of course, because it was newer and fresher, and just anime was different at the time in terms of discussion. But I think no matter what, Dr. Stone is always going to hold a special place in my heart because it is such an incredible series. It's very creative, and I do like the general design of the characters in the world, and while maybe it's not the most Sakuga-driven thing, it's also not ugly in the slightest either. And I love the return of this. I think it was exciting. I think it was exhilarating. What they ended up doing with the scuba stuff was just completely unexpected, especially with the franticness of having one shot. Like, once Taiju was revived, I mean, it was pretty much like guaranteed, like, okay, even if they couldn't get him right now, the boy has lungs of steel. He can go back down and dive himself, most likely, but still, we know where everyone is. We're about to have an army on our hands, and that's very, very exciting. Now, of course, those are my feelings. Let me know your thoughts down below on the return of Dr. Stone Season 3. Let me know. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course, ring that bell so you get notified when I upload more videos to the channel. Like I mentioned, we have a full live reaction to today's wonderful Dr. Stone episode available on my Patreon. And hey, while you're there, you also get a video shout out. So today we have Aldol, Sologki, Void, Subject 3, Yoraluka, Rorlia, and Sarnik. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.